From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Purport. All kinds of yogis, karma, jnana, hatha, etc., eventually have to attain devotional perfection in bhakti yoga, or Krishna consciousness, before they can go to Krishna's transcendental abode and never return. Those who attain the highest material planets, the planets of the demigods, are again subjected to repeated birth and death. As persons on earth are elevated to higher planets, people on higher planets, such as Brahmaloka, Chandraloka, and Indraloka, fall down to earth. The practice of sacrifice, called Pancharni Vidya, recommended in the Chandogya Upanishad, enables one to achieve Brahmaloka. But if, on Brahmaloka, one does not cultivate Krishna consciousness, then he must return to earth. Those who progress in Krishna consciousness on the higher planets are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets, and at the time of universal devastation, are transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. Harikesa Swami, in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, quotes this verse: Brahmana sahat te sarve samprapte patisanchare parasyante kritatmana pravishanti param padam. When there is a devastation of this material universe, Brahma and his devotees, who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness, are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to specific spiritual planets according to their desires. Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartino arjuna mamupechitu kaunteya punarjanmana vijite. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So, the process of repeated birth and death are described. We have to take birth again as long as our activities are not sufficient to become elevated beyond this material platform. The process is one of elevation or degradation. Sometimes a person is elevated, sometimes a person is degraded, according to his action. We find that this principle of elevation and degradation is understood mainly by everybody, because it is also an applicable principle in material existence. If you act in a nice way, for instance in work or in school, you can be elevated. And if you act in a foolish way, you can be degraded. You can lose your job or your position. Demotion may be there. This can go on. Now, in the spiritual sense, the process of degradation and elevation is something which takes place over long periods of time. When we understand it according to the Vedic philosophy, over longer periods of time, the living entity who is now captured in this material body, due to his past works, must accept some form of degradation or elevation in different ways. Everybody has to accept this. You cannot just remain as you like. I will remain in this nice Swedish body, and I will not change it. I will remain in this nice American body. I will not change that. This will be my permanent situation. But no, it is not permanent. You cannot stay in this body. And when this body will change, there will be some element, at least, of elevation or degradation. according to the previous activities. This is the way of karma. The law of karma says, as you perform activities, you will develop a result, either for elevation or degradation, in the future. But exactly when that result comes, no one can say. It may be sooner, it may be later. It depends on the ways of karma. Karma is very interesting because it is strictly related to time. Karma means the law of work. If I perform something which is, let's say, in a good category, I will get a result which is in a good category. But when I get that result, is not an obvious thing. It is based on the way in which karma and time are related. It's like a function. At a certain time, this certain value is achieved. At this point in time, let us say, 200 years in the future, you will receive the result of your previous work. And one will be mystified also, bewildered. How is it that now I am receiving this very serious suffering condition? What have I done to deserve such a fate? I am not a bad person, and yet this bad result comes to me and slaps me in the face. Why? People lament like this all the time. In fact, one rabbi in America questioned why bad things happen to good people. Because he didn't understand that maybe you were a good people in this lifetime, but maybe in your last time you were really nonsense people. Therefore, some suffering condition was created which made a seed of reaction which fructified in the heart, and then when it was ripe, when the plant of the reaction has grown and made a fruit, you are forced to pick the fruit and taste it. If it is bitter, you will not like that at all. If it is sweet, you will think, by the results of my expert arrangement of the material nature, by my good qualities and my great strength, I have achieved this good result today. Aren't I great? But in fact, we are simply eating the sweet fruit of our previous actions. Maybe in a previous lifetime or in this lifetime, I have acted in such a way that the sweet reaction will come. Somebody's given some money. We just heard the other day that one lady in Canada, she won the lotto 2 times the big prize. 2 times. One right after another. The odds against it were calculated to be in the trillions. And 2 times. So this is the fruit of the good karma. She was thinking, or others were thinking, luck. But not luck. It was strictly according to previously earned good reactions that were now manifesting in this mystifying way. And similarly, someone may receive very bad reactions in a very mystifying way, again and again and again. The material nature is just slapping him this way, that way, the other way, like a ping pong ball, bashing off this wall, bashing off that wall. That is the nature of the material energy. Sometimes it gives you something very nice, sometimes it gives you something not very nice. Therefore, in the Upanishads, it is said that the process of receiving karma and changing bodies is compared to 2 birds in a tree. Now, the tree represents the body. Like now I have my body. So in this example, the tree is like a body. And in the tree are 2 birds who fly from tree to tree. Just like we, the living entity, the spirit soul, we go with the super soul, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's in our heart and who's watching all the actions which are performed and keeping track of all the reactions that will come, good or bad. So these two birds, the soul and the super soul, fly from tree to tree as the living entity changes his bodies at the end of this lifetime. Every time we change our body, we go to a new body. Every time death comes, we take rebirth. So these birds, they fly from one tree to the next tree, the next tree to the next tree, the next tree to the next tree. As you go life after life after life from one tree to the next, one body to the next. So when the birds go to a new tree, one bird, he just watches. The other bird, he runs to the different branches of the tree to taste the fruits which are there. As you know, birds, they're very much interested in fruits, like they like cherries very much. They always spit out the cherry pits everywhere. They're eating the cherries like anything. So, sometimes the cherries are bitter. Just like that nonsense W.C. Fields said, the only good thing he ever said in his life. That life is like a bowl of cherries. Some are bitter and some are sweet. So, life is like that, and the body is like that. So, when you taste some of the sweet fruits, then one thinks, this is the life. This is what we're meant for. Go, go! Get your enjoyment! Make yourself great and be happy. Yes, I shall enjoy, I shall increase more and more according to my skills and abilities. And gradually I shall dominate others. In this way one becomes very puffed up with the opulence that comes from good reactions. But then, just like a balloon that gets very big, sometimes the pin of the bad reactions, when you least expect it, comes from behind. Pop! Everything's finished. Why? Because the bad reactions are like that. They just wait for the right moment, when you least expect it. Isn't it that bad things happen when you least expect it? Isn't it? Just like when you least expect it, boom, the material nature hits you. What? Time, function of time. One is overwhelmed by his great qualities that just simply are previous good reactions. And then the bad reaction sticks. And immediately one is so disturbed, agitated. So the bird in the tree sometimes tastes that bitter cherry. And it's not nice. And then he becomes a little philosophical. He thinks, this cherry was bad. Just like we see sometimes when the materialists are there and their relatives die or loved ones die and they're at the funeral and afterwards they sit together and lament a little bit or have a party or whatever it is they do. So at that time they're very open to philosophy. At that time you can speak about philosophy, changing bodies, life and the body are different, and this is just a temporary existence, and everybody can understand it because they can see here's the dead body. So it's clear to them things are temporary at that point only. They're philosophical for some minutes, and after that they forget the whole thing and go back home. Maya covers them over again. Avaranatmika Shakti, as discussed this morning. Covering one over, and then he forgets everything. So that is the way of Maya. That is also the mode of ignorance. To cover us over so we forget our real nature as spirit soul. But suffering condition is there for many reasons. Number one, it's a reaction for doing things in the wrong way. Sometimes people complain. They say, why should I get reactions? But we say, simple example. If you're in the kitchen and the fire is burning from the stove, and you stick your hand in the fire, and it gets burned, and it hurts, would you be so stupid as to say, "Why is my hand burned?" It's obvious why it's burned. You stuck it in the fire. Fire burns hand. That's law. When hand is burned, it hurts. That is law. It is not why my hand is hurting. That's ridiculous. Similarly, why I'm suffering? Because we put ourselves in that situation. You can't blame anybody else. We blame Krishna. Why he made this like this? That I have to suffer. And Krishna could say, "Why, you fool, you have to act like this." After all, fire is good, in general. Unless it's burning down barns. Fire is good, in general. That's a good thing. After all, you need fire. You need fire in order to make cooking in the stove. You need fire to make these nice lamps for the deities. You need fire in order to combine chemical and ingredients. It has to be heated up. You need fire for so many things. If the sun wasn't there, and that's a big ball of fire, we'd all be frozen. So fire is good. We need it. But misuse of the same fire does not mean to say there shouldn't be any fire. If you're so stupid as to put your hand in the fire, who else can you blame but yourself? You cannot blame the fire. It's like if you beat somebody on the head with a stick, you go to the court, and the judge said, "All right, did you do it?" And you say, "No, Your Honor, I did not do it. The stick did it." What do you mean the stick did it? The stick hit him on the head. I did not touch him. It was the stick. Yeah, but who held this stick? That does not matter. It was the stick that did it. This will not get you very far in court. So you cannot blame the fire. The fire is ingredient, which is used one way or another. And it's according to the way you use it, you'll get the certain kind of reaction. Similarly, this material world is filled with just ingredients everywhere. You may use them for good or bad as you like. If you use them in a bad way, then you're going to get reaction. What can we say? It's our own fault. And if you use it in a good way, you get good reaction. That's just law. If you take the earth and you use it to make a house, you get a house. If you take the earth, use it to dig a hole, dig it out, you get a hole. Actions bring results. Law of cause and effect. Everybody knows that. You do something, you get some result. You can't blame anybody else. When we act, we get result. That's all. And one may then say, "But I didn't know." Ignorance is no excuse. Again in court. "Why did you hit him on the head?" "Well, I don't like him." "But don't you know it's against the law?" "No, I didn't know that. I thought it was okay because he's such a nonsense." No, it doesn't work like that. Just because I like to do something doesn't mean it's right. After all, in the human society, we must be trained up as to what are the principles of right and what are the principles which are wrong. So one cannot say, "I did not know." Although it may be true, you didn't know, but it's your own fault. Someone may say, "But I was born here in this country, and here they don't teach us about these things." Yes, but whose fault is it that you were born in this country? It's our own fault. By our previous karma, we have acted in such a way that now we have taken birth in a place where there's no such knowledge present in human society as to action and reaction, the law of karma, rebirth again, death again, rebirth again. These things are not taught. In fact, they try to teach us the opposite. You're simply a pile of chemicals. So we have taken our birth here because we wanted to. We deserved it by our actions, previous lifetimes. So we can't blame anybody else. You cannot blame anybody else if you're in ignorance. After all, in every civilization, there are instructions on how to act in a proper way, at least to a certain degree. And especially now, one has no excuse. Because the Vedic literatures are being revealed by Srila Prabhupada's grace to all of the people of the world through his transcendental literatures. Now there's really no excuse. You see, there are many persons who, even after hearing about the law of karma, hearing about something spiritual laws, natural laws, reject it completely out of their own consciousness. Who do they have to blame for their condition of suffering? Absolutely no one else but themselves. Once the knowledge is available and you reject it, then one is very much implicated in his sinful activities. Activities done with knowledge are worse than activities done out of ignorance. Just like, for instance, if you kill somebody, but you didn't know it was wrong, or you didn't want to do it on purpose, it just happened. Then in the law, you're not punished so severely. That's usually called manslaughter. Yeah. In every country they have the same law, although the words used to describe it are different. It means you didn't kill him on purpose. It was an accident, like when you would run somebody over with your car. Or sometimes they have cases where somebody was just picking up a gun or something, didn't even know it was loaded, and all of a sudden, boom, it goes off, and there's somebody laying dead. This is accident. It's not planned. Therefore, the sentence is not so heavy. Maybe sometimes you go to jail for 1 or 2 years because you're still a fool. Or you don't get any sentence. But if you plan it, on this day I will blow this man's brains out. And you do it, life. In some parts of the world, you're sentenced to death. Or life in prison. Or at least some long term. Who knows the laws now? So, the point is, premeditated action with knowledge is worse, much worse. Therefore, Prabhupada said, for in India, where they know better, but they are rejecting Vedic culture because of the Western influence, especially the influence of this technological advancement and desires for all kinds of sense gratification, they will suffer much worse reaction than those who did not know it all. Because that's the law. When you do it with knowledge, it's worse. In any case, one can get knowledge, but he has to look for it. He has to look for it in the right place. Therefore, we come to Bhagavad Gita, and we search out knowledge, and try to understand what is correct. And in this verse, we're getting another kind of a knowledge here. That if you're pious, and you are thinking to elevate yourselves in the material world to very nice positions, this planet is not the only planet where there are living beings. There are living beings throughout the whole universe. Just like we mentioned previously. And devotees, they like to hear, especially the people in general, they like to hear about this example. In the Upanishads, it is stated about, especially Vedanta Sutras, how there is the planet Jupiter, the planet of Brihaspati, where the beings have bodies of lightning, of vidyuts, bodies of lightning, you know? Lightning. So one thinks. No, but it's very possible. Anyway, it was Mariner or Pioneer or whoever it was, one of these satellites was flying around Jupiter. And they were taking data and pictures and digital information was coming back continuously, non-stop. So on that planet, they found it was simply lightning everywhere. So they said, this place is hopeless. There can be no life as we know it because the planet is simply filled with lightning. What could live there? It's just lightning everywhere. The atmosphere is so surcharged. So, we thought this was very funny. they thought because there's lightning, it means no life. And we think that's the life, because that's what it says in the Vedas. One thinks, you can't have life as lightning. And we say, why not? What do you mean you can't have life as lightning? Are you God? If life was to take such a form, why not? In fact, this planet's life forms are limited to the basic constitutional nature of the planet. Because this planet is mainly water, our bodies are also mainly water. Maybe you didn't know, but your body is 90% water. It's really funny when you think about it. Yeah, that doesn't make sense at all. But that's what they say in the biology books. This body is mainly water. All the cells are mainly water or liquid substances. So, because this planet is mainly water, with some earthly substances, some fiery substances, and some airy substances, similarly the body is so. But you go on another planet where the constituent elements are different, or there is a different basic structure, the bodies of the living entities will be perfectly suited according to that structure on those planets. And therefore, in other planets, living entities will not look like we think. And therefore, when we go to other planets, maybe we might think there's nobody here. Because they don't look like us. And because we're so prejudiced, people are very puffed up, they think. It doesn't look like me, therefore it doesn't exist. Because this life and other lives that we have here on earth, these are the only ones, and there's nothing else than that. But that's not very logical. In different places, there must be different situations. Even the physicists are beginning to think that the laws of physics, which they know, may only be localized in this particular solar system, or maybe even just within the Earth planet. There may be different laws operating in different places. That's another interesting thing. In another place, another galaxy may have a different set of physical laws. So they at least got to the point of understanding that in relation to their equations. And it's about time they got to understand this in relation to life. It will have different forms in different places, of course. Even some big scientists nowadays are admitting this too. So they're making some advancements. So we find that if you go to other planets, the situation of life is much more advanced than on this Earth planet. Higher planetary systems, they're called. There are higher planets and there are lower planets. Those planets which are higher than the Earth planet have opulences there which are often far superior to the earthly opulences. And the living entities there are enjoying much more than we are enjoying on this planet, because their bodies are not made of the same elements as we are, where there is so much trouble that can come to this body. Much less trouble comes to their bodies. In fact, in some, there's practically no trouble at all as you go into the higher systems. However, even though in Vedic knowledge these things may be understood, and it is very much desired to go to those higher planets because you can enjoy like anything. I'm not even going to tell you how nice it is up there, because I made that mistake once. I actually described one of the heavenly planets completely. Prabhupada once described this to us in Hawaii, because in Hawaii we were traveling around the world with Prabhupada, so in Hawaii it's sometimes very nice. I personally don't like the place at all, but a lot of other people, they think it's very nice. So. Anyway, in Hawaii it was supposedly very nice. So Prabhupada was saying, he was laughing, because someone thinking this place was very nice. So he was saying, you think this is nice? So then he described some of the situations in the higher planetary systems. Ooh. So once I made the mistake of describing that to a group, then I could see, wait a minute. Some are very much attracted to this and are thinking, this sounds better than Vaikuntha. No, big mistake. Therefore, we will not describe those heavenly planets. Although they are very elaborately described in the Vedic literatures, you will find, especially in Mahabharata, there are many, many stories about those great saintly personalities who have elevated themselves to the heavenly planets and enjoying like anything of them. However, always in those stories, there's a point at which they fall. Oh, that's very bad. Because when falling from those heavenly planets, Kshine, Punye, Machaloka, Vishanti, you land with a thump when you come back down. You know the saying, the higher they are, the bigger they are, the harder they fall? The more big you are, the more tall you are, the more long way you got to go when it's coming down. Similarly, when you're falling back down from those heavenly planets to this earthly planet, when you hit, it makes a big, because it's a long way. And then one is very much absorbed in a lamentation as he's falling. In fact, that's the thing which kicks you out of the heavenly planets, because you are informed by one of the messengers up there. Dear sir, your good karma is running out. And within a short time, you will fall from this place. And then one gets so depressed, you cannot imagine. You're just enjoying like anything, everything you could ever imagine. Perfect, wonderful, fantastic. Like we said, we won't even dare tell you. But when you know you've got to go, your visa's finished, sir. Back to home planet. You can apply again later on. The lamentation which takes place in one's mind is so severe, it kicks one right out. And one falls back down again. And he takes birth again. And then he may act again as he likes, for good or bad, to elevate himself or degrade himself from this human platform. Therefore, the problem with these planets are that Abrahma Bhuvanalo Kinar Abruptly Arjuna. You have to take birth again. Therefore, don't consider that it's an eternal situation. Sometimes we lament on this earth planet. This place is so filled. Happiness, distress, distress, happiness, happiness, distress. Where does it end? I want to go to that place where it's all very nice, so I want to go to heaven. But don't forget, it's temporary. Just like sometimes in this platform, on this earthly platform, sometimes everything goes right. It's rare, but it happens. For some persons it never happens. For some persons it only happens for 1 week in their lives. For other persons it may happen for 20 years. But the illusion is the same. Everything's right. It's great. It's good. It's right on. Feels good. I like it. Let's go. And we're just going on this way, enjoying the days slip by as if they were seconds. Every day passes by as if it was a second. Enjoying life like anything, everything perfect, everything fine, but the hours just days. Next time you turn around, the seasons are changing, one after the other. The years are going by, one after the other. One can't even perceive it because he's just enjoying. It's just great. It's just fun. But then, at one point, the party's over. And then, the cruel reality of the material nature hits. At that time slows down to a crawl. Day by day. Just like we always give that example of time. And everybody knows this example. It's the most perfect example in the world. When you're enjoying, things just go fast. When you're sitting in the dentist's office. And he's drilling. You wonder how he could possibly stand there for 10 hours drilling in your mouth. Although it was only 10 minutes. Every minute is 1 hour in a dentist's office. Isn't it? I know. So, we find like that when you're enjoying, time just goes like anything. And when you're suffering, it just drags on. Like when you're waiting for something, the clock just seems to go. She's looking at the clock and just hurry up. It doesn't work like that. It's a material nature, just meant like this. Therefore, when one is in the heavenly planets, days are just slipping by, years are just slipping by, and although you've got thousands of them, you get thousands of years, but if every year is going by like this, it doesn't take long to hit 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, very fast. And one falls down again. And then time seems so long. It's like here on this earthly planet, it is just going slow. As long as one is not enjoying it, just drags days. It's like a heavy weight dragging. So slow. Days. Hard struggle for existence. So, therefore Krishna said, why do you bother going even to the highest planet of this universe, Brahmalok, the topmost platform? Even you are in the other heavenly planets. You may start off on the abodes of the Gandharvas. Gandharvas and Apsaras. In the heavenly planets, these are the warriors and the dancers. They're like the servants of the demigods. They do things for the demigods. So, they sport in the Nandana gardens and other gardens around the Mount Meru, on the Bhuvanaloka. And they are enjoying like anything, having a very nice time. The Apsaras are the heavenly society ladies, who Indra uses to try to seduce yogis who are getting too powerful. So, you can imagine, Gandharvas and Apsaras, they have a good time. They know no law. In those realms... I got myself. In those... Anyway. So, then, if one is pious, he may advance higher to the realm of the subordinate demigods, then to the realm of the major demigods and their heavenly planets. Then, if one is even more pious, he may attain the Saptarishi planets or other great planets. And then at the top, he's got the Mahalok, Janalok, Tapalok, and Satyalok. Satyalok is the Brahmalok. Brahma's planet. For those who don't know, Loka means planet. So Lord Brahma's planet. And that planet is the topmost planet in the universe. You can't go any higher as far as planets go. Material planets. And at that time, though even those great saintly personalities who have gone through all of this elevation, they must wait for death to take place. When Lord Brahma's life is finished, after this enormous duration of Lord Brahma's life, the whole lifetime of this universe, which is so many years, we can't even calculate. We can calculate it, we just need a calculator. And you go all the way to the end of all of this, and you will find then, when Lord Brahma leaves this universe to go back to Krishna's place, then they go with him to their respective destinations according to the way they were meditating or absorbing themselves in service to Krishna. So they may go to Vaikuntha Loka, they may go to Goloka Vrindavan, they may go any particular planet of the different deities in the Vaikuntha planets, and in that way they go back to God. Therefore, it is stated here, Mamu Pechitu Kantaya Puna Janmana Vijite. But if you actually surrender to Krishna, then you never take birth again. All these other places, you have to come back and forth. But once you surrender to Krishna, you attain his abode. And that abode means no more repetition of birth and death, no more karma, no more continuous cycle. That abode is beyond all birth and death, old age and disease. Therefore, it is stated that one may elevate himself wherever he likes, but until we get to the point of elevating ourselves beyond this material universe, we're always going to be bound to come back again, because that is the way of karma. Shine punya macha loka vashanti. If you go up, you come down. If you're down, you come up. It's an infinite cycle, like an infinity sign. You can make it like this, if you ever want to show the up and down. You come up, you come down. You go down, you come up. You're always passing by the junction of the human form of life. Infinitely, so long as one is not surrendered to Krishna. Sometimes going down into the lower species, sometimes back to human form. At that form, he can stay here for some time. It's not that you always have to move. You may stay here for some time, He may go back down again. He may go up again, but back down again. Always coming back to the human form. For it is here, in this human platform of life, amongst all of the platforms of life, that we have the opportunity to surrender to Krishna. It is in this life, or this form of life, that we have all possibilities to go back to God and become perfected in our spiritual realization. Therefore, one must use this valuable form of life. That is why the Vedanta Sutra begins with the Tato Brahma Jigyasa. Ata, now. The Vedanta Sutra begins with a word which screams out at the reader. Ata, now, you! You thought you would escape. No, now, you! Ata, therefore. Therefore means it's a conclusion. Now means, now you, the reader. Because dog cannot read this book. Cat cannot read this book. Others are not having the facility to read this book. Even there are so many uncivilized personalities in the world still today who don't read books in general. What to speak of reading Vedanta Sutra. Now you, who are reading this book, therefore, that you have read this book, and therefore, that means you have gone through so much previous realization. And you have understood there is no use to go up and down through the different species of life. You have understood the cycle of karma is unbreakable. You have understood that even the varnashrama system, gradually elevation, this is not the goal of life. It is simply a means to an end as long as one lives in this material world. You have understood more. Now you try and understand what is Brahman. Brahma Jigyasa. What is the Supreme? What is Spirit? What is this higher potency and energy? After all, this is applicable for everybody. Nobody can even step into Krishna's temple unless he has in the past had this opportunity to perform some kind of service. Just like when we give somebody a card or give somebody an invitation, and they come on the basis of the invitation, they generally have had some contact with something spiritual in the past which has given them the way to come in. Or we have given them that seed of spiritual life at that very moment. But everybody who enters into Krishna's temple is automatically considered a great soul, because not everybody does this. After all, how many people there are in Sweden? 8 million. How many have been in this temple? Hardly anybody compared to that. Therefore, it is generally only those who actually have had some experience, some previous relationship with spiritual life, and they may not even know it presently. Some persons were in their former lifetimes trying to become Krishna conscious. And in this lifetime, something brought them to Krishna, although it may not have been very obvious what it was. It may not have been very strong, but something just brought them to Krishna. And there they are, in Krishna's temple. And they may think, this is a strange chance. But it's not a chance at all. It's the continuation of that which they started previous lifetime. Therefore, some people come immediately. They want to just continue. Or they immediately have attraction to go on. That's because in previous lifetime they had made so much advancement. Others, they come and they're just interested, because in previous lifetime that's the level they came to. And they're starting from that point. Wherever you left off in previous lifetimes, you start from that point and move forward. It's never lost. Therefore, one should just simply come to Krishna's temple and continue. And just keep on going on. We remember in our own case, there was absolutely no external reason why we should have come to Krishna consciousness or become a devotee. We didn't know anything about it. Had the faintest idea in the world we were going to do this. One day met the devotees, next day we were devotees. Didn't even know it ourselves. They said, come to the temple, so we came to the temple. Then after a week they said, you've been here a week, why don't you stay? I said, stay? I never thought of it. Leave? I never thought of that either. once they asked me to write a story for Back to God and how I became a devotee. I said, you're not interested in my story. It's really dull. It would be one paragraph. But that's the way it is. Some persons just, okay, come on. Other persons may struggle and struggle and struggle. Also, because of having so many sinful desires that have accumulated for so many lifetimes, contamination may be there, conditioning may be there. And they don't want to surrender. Because they know, if I surrender, this means I have to give up all of these wonderful material desires which I have, which I'm still trying to fulfill. But sir, you've been trying to fulfill these for the last 20,000 lifetimes. And you haven't been successful. No, but this lifetime I will certainly succeed.